Hey, you. Ever get that feeling when you're scrolling through your phone and it's like you're watching a movie trailer of everyone else's life?
Mm-hmm.
Someone's, living their best life, vibing in Bali on a yacht, maybe,
Yeah.
while you might be, well, just kind of rotting in bed or, navigating another Tuesday.
Yeah, that sense of observing rather than like fully participating. It can be a real byproduct of our always on digitally saturated world. Definitely.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, right? Are we truly like steering our own ship, or are we just kind of
Yeah.
the NPCs in our own game of life, maybe, watching everyone else have the adventure?
Hmm.
So, for this deep dive, we're tackling a big question. Why do we get so hooked on watching other people's lives play out online?
Well,
And maybe more importantly, how can you flip the script and really step into your own story?
And to help us explore this, we've been looking at a really interesting source. It's a YouTube video from the LEP Learn English podcast channel. It's called Stop Wasting Time, Start Living Your Own Life podcast and Chill Beginner.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it gives a very, accessible and relatable take on this whole thing.
Okay, so let's get into it. This whole pull of watching others. What's the basic reason we do it? The video we checked out starts simple,
Right.
entertainment.
Right.
It's just chill, a vibe, and well, it suggests humans are just naturally kind of nosy.
Well, yeah, there's definitely a core human instinct there, isn't there,
Yeah.
to observe and learn from others. I mean, historically, understanding different ways of life was valuable for, social learning, connection.
Sure.
And now digital platforms just give us this like almost unlimited window into those lives, which can be fascinating, but also potentially problematic, as we'll probably get into.
Right. And the video mentions this movie life appeal.
Hmm.
We're drawn to seeing how others live, especially if it looks way more exciting or, I don't know, glamorous than our current
All
situation.
right.
Like wanting to peek into an A24 flick, all visually cool and maybe a bit dramatic.
Yep. That totally taps into our inherent desire for novelty, maybe some escapism from the daily grind. The curated snippets we see online often show this, like heightened or idealized reality, which, yeah, can be more alluring than, laundry day.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The video gets into the science with the dopamine connection.
Ah, dopamine.
Yeah, they call it the brain's happy juice, right? It gets released when something good happens, like our brain's reward system saying, hey, pay attention. This is good.
That's a good, simple way to put it. Dopamine's a neurotransmitter crucial for pleasure reward. When we see something enjoyable like a stunning travel pic or someone's big win, our brain releases it.
Right.
And that reinforces the behavior, makes us want more of those experiences. It's huge in habit formation, not just for like obvious rewards, but for patterns like social media use too.
Which makes total sense with their example about always wanting another bag of chips. And they mentioned a study, didn't they,
Yeah,
that
they do.
dopamine's also big in craving. So we see these lives online, maybe get a little FOMO, fear of missing out, and bam, dopamine trigger telling us to keep scrolling for that next potential hit. It becomes this loop.
Precisely. That FOMO can be super powerful. And the, unpredictable stream of content online, it gives intermittent rewards, a funny video, an inspiring story, a glimpse of something cool, which keeps us totally hooked in that dopamine loop.
And it's such effortless gratification, isn't it? We get a little taste of the flex without having to actually do the work ourselves.
Mm.
Our brain gets a treat, no effort needed. That's why it's so easy to get hooked. The video even said dopamine's as annoying as those YouTube premium ads. Just keeps popping up.
That really highlights how involuntary it can feel sometimes. The sheer ease of access to endless content, plus our brain's reward pathways,
Oh.
it makes it incredibly simple to just slip into hours of passive watching.
But this happy potion, it can also kind of make us
Yeah.
lazy, right? The video brought it up.
Yeah.
If I can watch someone else get shredded through my phone, why would I even bother hitting the gym? And I've definitely felt that lack of motivation sometimes.
That's a really crucial point. Passive consumption can genuinely erode intrinsic motivation. When we feel like we're experiencing something vicariously through someone else, it can sometimes lessen our own drive to go out and do it. It's subtle, but it's a significant psychological effect. It can lead to less personal agency.
Which is why the video is pretty blunt, calling this whole habit low-key a huge red flag. The more time you spend scrolling, the less time you're actually, doing. It's a whole trap.
They're absolutely right. There's a real opportunity cost there. Time spent passively watching is time we could be putting into our own goals, relationships, actual experiences.
And it's not just the lost hours, is it? Seeing someone seemingly living your dream life. that can lead to constant comparison. And honestly,
Yeah.
it can really mess with your self-esteem. The
Sure.
video mentioned lots of people saying, oh, I feel that. And I think that's like universal.
Yeah, the comparison thing is a well-documented downside of social media and just online viewing in general. We're often seeing these highly curated, filtered versions of life, right?
Lovely.
And then we compare our own, like, messy behind-the-scenes reality to someone else's highlight reel. It's just not a fair comparison, and it leads to negative self-talk.
We end up spending so much time wishing our lives were different instead of actually, taking steps to make them different.
Yeah.
It's that classic feeling the video mentioned, being stuck in our feels and low-key depressed.
That constant exposure to seemingly perfect lives can definitely cultivate a sense of inadequacy, dissatisfaction with our own situation, even if, objectively, our lives are perfectly fine. It can create this breeding ground for negative feelings, a distorted sense of reality.
It's that weird paradox, right? Like the video said, some content can be inspirational, but also kind of soul-crushing all at once.
Exactly.
You see someone achieve something amazing, and part of you is like, wow, good for them. But another part is just wondering, why am I not there yet?
That duality makes it so tricky. That initial spark of inspiration can so quickly turn into discouragement if we just focus on the gap between their highlight reel and our current, reality.
Okay, so we've definitely painted a clear picture of the problem.
Yeah.
Now, the important bit, how do we break this cycle? How do we start feeling more like in our own lives? The video jumps right into strategies.
Yes, and the first big one they highlight is setting limits. Now, they do mention those phone screen time limits we all know.
Yeah, the ones I always ignore.
Right. They point out those can be easy to bypass and are often just a temporary fix.
Right, who hasn't just tapped ignore limit. So what works better, the video emphasizes developing mental limits, consciously stopping yourself from going down the rabbit hole. They define rabbit hole as getting so deep into content you don't even realize how far you've gone. I think we can all relate to that one.
Yeah, those internal boundaries are ultimately way more powerful than external tools. Apps and timers can help, sure, but the real change comes from developing that self-awareness, that ability to intentionally interrupt the mindless scrolling.
And they're not saying never watch anything again, obviously,
Right.
but just be more deliberate. So how do we actually do that?
Yeah.
Their suggestion is simple, but potentially really effective. The 5-second pause.
Okay.
Before you click play, just pause for like 5 seconds and ask yourself, honestly, is this actually doing anything for me right now? Is it adding value?
Yeah.
But if the answer is no, their advice is pretty direct. Close the app and go touch some grass, bestie.
I like that. That brief pause, it introduces this critical moment of reflection, right? It disrupts the automatic habit, forces you to consciously think about your intention and the benefit or lack thereof.
But what if you kind of lie to yourself? Tell yourself it's doing something, even if you're just procrastinating. Well, then they suggest setting a hard limit, like 10 minutes. Watch it, enjoy it if you genuinely are, then consciously move on. This is where those screen time limits can maybe come in clutch as like a backup plan.
That layered approach makes a lot of sense. The mental check-in first, then the time limit as a safety net. Keeps you from getting totally lost.
But what happens when that 10-minute timer dings and you still feel that pull for just one more video? That's the mental battle they talk about.
Oh, yeah.
That just one more can easily turn into another hour, gone. Suddenly it's 2 a.m. and all you've learned is some stranger's detailed morning routine while your own life is exactly the same. Talk about a brutal reality check, as they put it.
That really shows the potentially addictive nature of this stuff. The novelty, the FOMO, the ease of access. It creates strong urges. Recognizing the trade-off, what you're not doing with that time, is crucial for regaining control.
Okay, so beyond limits, what else? How do we break free from just like staring at screens? The video's next big idea is turning inspo into action. I really like the sound of that.
Yes. This is where we shift from passive observer to active participant. It's about taking that spark of interest or inspiration you get from watching others and channeling it into actual concrete steps in your own world.
Right, so if you're constantly watching travel vlogs, dreaming of Bali, don't just keep scrolling. The video suggests make a Pinterest board of places you like, casually check flight prices just to see, or plan a smaller, budget-friendly local getaway. Or if it's that big, fancy trip you want, maybe start a small savings challenge, even just like $10 a week.
These are tangible, actionable steps. They move you from just fantasizing to actually planning, initiating. It breaks down those big aspirational feelings into smaller, manageable tasks that actually bring you closer to your own goals.
What about fitness? If you're always watching workout reels thinking, ugh, I wish I looked like that, their advice is super simple. Just stand up and stretch. They really emphasize baby steps. Imagine if every time you watch a fitness influencer, you just like 5 squats. Not a full workout, but it's something.
Exactly. Even tiny actions create momentum. They shift you from passive watching to active engagement. Stretching might seem small, but it's a start. And it reinforces that you do have agency over your physical self.
And for career stuff or self-improvement, if you're watching videos about someone's amazing success or a new skill, don't just watch. Take a small step. Thinking side hustle. Spend 10 minutes actually researching ideas. Want to learn Spanish? Sign up for a free trial of an app. And maybe set a reminder to cancel it if it's not for you.
Haha, good tip. But yeah, the key is translating that admiration or interest into a concrete, achievable task in your life. Shifting from just consuming info to actively applying it.
Because the main point they hammer home is crucial.
Yeah.
Watching someone else win won't change your life.
Yeah.
Taking action will.
Absolutely.
Time to go from spectator to player.
That sense of accomplishment, of progress, it's intrinsically linked to your own efforts, not to vicariously living through someone else.
They even connect it to creative stuff. Watching painting tutorials for hours. Maybe, just maybe, pick up a pencil and doodle for 5 minutes.
Makes perfect sense.
And language learning, watching polyglots switch languages effortlessly. Don't just feel salty. Open Duolingo and learn 5 new words. Maybe learn bay, they joked.
It's about taking that feeling, longing, inspiration, whatever, and immediately channeling it into a micro action. Even 5 new words is forward progress compared to just, feeling bad about yourself.
But what about wanting results now? We all kind of want that overnight success, right? Master a skill instantly.
Oh, definitely. That desire is strong.
But the video's clear. Nah, it's all about baby steps. Trying to do too much too fast, being greedy for results, that's just a recipe for disappointment. Leads straight to burnout.
That expectation of instant gratification is such a huge hurdle for long-term progress. Real change, real mastery, it takes time, consistency, embracing those small incremental wins.
So it really boils down to breaking a toxic cycle, doesn't it? Actively choosing to do it instead of just scroll. Noted. And this leads into what sounds like a really practical strategy. The 30-day swap challenge.
Right. This offers a structured way to actually implement these changes. And importantly, it's not about quitting cold turkey, stopping abruptly. They specifically advise against that.
Exactly. Not a full digital detox, unless you want one, I guess, but more like consciously swapping out maybe 10-15 minutes each day of that mindless scrolling.
Just 10-15 minutes.
For something that actually benefits you. Reading, learning a skill, working on that project you keep putting off. Like instead of watching someone's vlog, maybe journal about your own day for that time.
That small daily swap can have a surprisingly big cumulative effect over 30 days. It's about intentionally redirecting just a small slice of your time and energy towards something that brings you more fulfillment or growth.
Okay, but the big question, can just 15 minutes really make a difference? The video argues yes. Starting small is key to building a sustainable habit. Then you can gradually increase the time off your phone if you want. It's about replacing a less helpful habit with a better one, bit by bit.
That totally aligns with habit formation principles. Start small, make it achievable, stick with it long term. It's much more effective than trying some huge overhaul that you abandon after 3 days.
And the potential payoff after 30 days, you might realize half those vlogs were mid anyway, which, yeah, made me laugh.
Probably true.
But more importantly, you'll likely have something tangible, read a few chapters, made progress on a skill, or just feel like your own life isn't stuck on repeat. Because I've definitely felt that stale feeling, and the video suggests over-consuming content can contribute to it. Ouch, another little reality check.
That feeling of stagnation is really common with excessive passive consumption. This challenge is a concrete way to fight that. Inject some new energy and accomplishment into your day.
All right, well, consider this your official challenge. Day 1 starts now as you're listening. So just to quickly recap everything we've covered in this deep dive.
Yeah, we've looked at why we get so drawn into watching others online, the subtle but significant downsides of too much passive scrolling motivation, self-esteem, and most importantly, practical, actionable ways to break free.
We talked about setting those mental boundaries, turning inspo into action, making that switch from watcher to doer, and yeah, the 30-day swap challenge as a great starting point.
And it brings us back to that really powerful closing thought from the video. You can't live your best life by just watching other people live theirs, period.
So true. It's direct, yeah, but such an important reminder.
Definitely.
At some point, you got to close the app, get up, and actually do something that, hits different for you. So here's a little bonus challenge.
Hmm.
For the next 24 hours, try to intentionally limit the vlogs and stories. No mindless scrolling, no binging. Just focus on your own main character moment.
And pay attention to how you feel during that time. If you find you don't even miss it, maybe it wasn't adding much value anyway. And if you do miss it, well, that could be even more motivation to try some of the longer term strategies we talked about.
Go do something fire. We're rooting for you. Catch you next time.
Ah.
Oh, hey, before we totally wrap, the video also flagged some key phrases they used. Useful to remember.
Oh, yeah.
Rabbit hole, getting lost in content, come in clutch, helps at the perfect time. Reality check, reminder of the real situation. Hit different, feels special or meaningful. And cold turkey, stopping a habit suddenly.
Those are good ones. Useful for thinking about your own habits. The video also posed those two direct questions to the listener, didn't it? Worth revisiting.
Right. First, why do you think we enjoy watching other people live their best lives? Their ideas were entertainment, escapism, that easy dopamine hit without the effort.
Mm-hmm. And the second question, what's one thing you can do to stop the cycle of passive scrolling? Their answer focused on setting limits, asking yourself if watching is actually beneficial right then.
Yeah.
So we'd really encourage you listening to think about those. What are your own answers? What resonated most from this chat today?
Exactly. Share your thoughts. We're all figuring this digital world out together, right? And the goal is to live our own fulfilling lives, not just watch highlights of someone else's.